What is up, fantasy people? You are back with the True North Fantasy Pod. We are, of course, presented by Monkey Knife Fight, and we are a part of the Fantasy Points Media Group. And I'm back, baby. Travis Seal. You can find me on Twitter at TSeal14. I've been off for like a few weeks, and it has been awful, and I am back, and I am so stoked to get into it tonight. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of Scott Fishbowl 11 stuff, or Scott Fishbowl 11s for our friends out in Quebec, the Francophones. We love our Canadians out here. And of course, with me, my partner in crime. I'm so stoked. Our resident material girl on the True North team right now. Ty, how are you doing living in the material world?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I got Polly Pocket Division last year, Madonna this year. So living the dream. I don't want to give any spoilers alert. I say we just start bringing on some of these guests that we brought in tonight. But it's pretty crazy. Like you talk about one of the best things that Scott Fish does for this is the themes, right? And the themes end up taking kind of they take on a life of their own inside of the Scott Fish Bowl. It's just so much fun, the creativity it sparks and everything. So more than happy to be a part of the Madonna division. And, you definitely got a nicer division. We got guys like JD getting in the Dre division. Connor is in the George Clinton division. We got Nate from True North Fantasy Football has Kendrick Lamar. Will is in Rage Against the Machine from Viridian. We got TNFF Craig in the Kelly Clarkson. And it's because of you, Craig, that I kind of got into the Scott Fish Bowl. Pumping me up here and then. We got Matt in Run DMC. That's a good one. Dan, Mr. Dan Brown, is in Halsey. We got Jim in ELO. And Smokey got a good one, especially because we're all from the Pacific Northwest. So Allison Chains is good. Yeah. Jules, hopefully he joins us tonight, is in Imagine Dragons. And you got Snoop D-O-double-G. Joe is in U2. I don't know who Brian and Jesse have.
Well, we can find out Brian's and maybe shoot a message to Jesse. And I love that sentiment, Ty, because the themes really bring. You said they take on their own life within the tournament. I think they also bring a bunch of life to the fantasy community. In people getting kind of down for their division, all the artwork you get for the Scott Fish Bowl, that is fantastic. Really fired up about the theme this year of the bands. And to be honest, Ty, I know you're not on the stream right now. You're cut out a little bit there, but Madonna, I will say I have a soft spot for. That was the quintessential Saturday music in my household when Mom was doing a bunch of chores around the house and stuff. We had the Immaculate Collection by Madonna on often, so it holds a special place in my heart. But talking about bringing life to this podcast tonight are going to be a bunch of our friends from the True North team. Ty, you just mentioned a couple of them there with all their divisions and whatnot. So I'm going to start bringing them in here. First, we have my man, one of the creators of the Sons of Dynasty. Big things coming from the Sons of Dynasty, in fact, on the TNFF network. So keep those eyes peeled. And that would be my man, Daniel Brown. How you doing, my brother?
What's up, Trav? It is good to see you back in the fold, man. We truly did miss you while you were handling your personal life issues. And I'm glad it went well for you and you are getting settled into your new spot. Dirty Laundry Studios, RIP. I'm gonna miss it, and I can only imagine the amount of manpower that you put down in that studio, the hours that went down there grinding out the film, grinding out the analytics. So hats off to Dirty Laundry Studios. I will never forget it, but I appreciate you guys having me on here tonight. Excited to talk some Scotty Fish Bowl with all the guys we have on. Don't let me eat up any more time. I know we got a crew coming behind me here.
Absolutely. I know Ty's probably working to get back, and I appreciate the love for Dirty Laundry Studios. For any of our audio listeners, I did just pour one out for Dirty Laundry Studios, and now my feet are wet, and so is the carpet in my bedroom, but that's okay. Next, we are going to bring on our resident cloud person. He is living lavish on the beach in the sleeveless with the shades on. That would be my man, Brian Bailey at the FF Aviator on Twitter. Bry guy, how you doing out there chilling on the balcony with the mountains in the backdrop?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's hot out here in Langley today. not as hot as the island. I know you guys are saying a few more degrees, but try and stay cool under the sunshade. A little bit of a breeze. Yeah, living life.
Couple
man.
bevies, maybe, huh?
Couple.
Atta babe. Yeah, no, it's good. The personal stuff that D Brown was talking about was me moving. So I am set back up, and with the heat, I am super thankful that our bedroom has an AC unit right over top of the bed. So
Beautiful.
That's one of the best part of my days right now is laying down underneath that puppy and getting a good night's sleep. Next up, we're going to bring the second piece of the True North team that is a part of the Sons of Dynasty, as well as a part of many other things right now. I got to say a big congrats to this guy, and that would be Nate Williams. Nate Dog, man, you're a busy boy these days. It's a pleasure to get on the airwaves with you, brother.
You too, man. It's been a couple months since I think the NFL draft since I was on with you guys. So good to see you back. It is good to be back. It is an honor to be in Scott Fishbowl this year, and I am a first timer, so I'm looking forward to learning a thing or two.
Yeah, we have an incredible complement of True North teammates in the Scott Fishbowl there. So we are very, very well represented. Okay, so now we're going to go to the True North Ball of Energy. He of the Alice in Chains division. And please make sure you go to his Twitter because he did an incredible remake of I'm drawing a blank on the track, but he can tell us in 1 second. And that would be Josh Smoky Hell Nelson. What's going on, buddy?
What is shaking, True North? I am jacked up. And it was Man in the Box, by the way.
That's right. That's right.
Man on the Clock.
Mm-hmm. No, that was beautiful. You had like the whole studio set up, the mic stand and stuff, and looking all metal. It was good. It was good, buddy. That was awesome. So make sure you go check out Josh's Twitter page to find that, because that's the second one that he's done too, and they're hilarious. The next man is an OG True Norther. He's been around since almost the start here. You know him from the Gold Jacket podcast with Connor Donald. Jimmy Nastic, what's going on, my man? You are on mute, brother. There's always one. There's always one.
I checked mine right before.
What's going on, dude?
Man, double clicked it. Oh, it's going good. Just really excited to be on here, talk some Scott Fishbowl. So I pack a bowl. Scott Fishbowl, pack a bowl. That's what I'm gonna do, and we'll talk some strategy.
Yeah, I'm stoked, Jimmy. I'm stoked, and just busting your balls about the mute there, because totally understand that you were trying to be the good guest and make sure that you were on mute when you weren't talking. So I appreciate that as well, Jimbo. Okay, and the next man up, and the last one for right now, but we might have a couple other special cameos a little bit later on in the show. Talked about him a little bit earlier. Before the show, we said let's chirp him and see where he's at, and that's our buddy Craig at Coach Craig Sport on the Twitter machine. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not too much. Just getting in here last minute, and of course the internet decided to be slow. So
yep, sounds about par for the course, my man. It's great to have you on, Craig. We were also talking earlier about how much of a staunch supporter you are in the comments of all of our shows, and it's good to get you on the shows. I love when I see you on the other end of the camera as opposed to supporting through the comments, buddy. So it's good to have you on. Whew, boys, I've been
Alice
talking
of
a lot.
our Brady bunch.
Oh, this is a motley crew. Yep, that's for sure. That's what we described it as on Twitter, and Ty kind of coined that term for our team, and I absolutely love it. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ty, because he is going to be the man steering the ship tonight. Appreciate the hard work putting the sheet together and keeping us under wraps here, Ty. And good luck keeping us on track tonight, dude.
No, it's gonna be easy, because I think I'm gonna let everyone else do the work. I'm just gonna ask the questions for sure. So me, I've been like Travis as well as myself. Who else has been in the Scott Fishbowl already? D Brown, you have as well, right? Yeah, Aviator's a vet. So Smokey, Craig, you guys have both never been in it, eh?
Correct.
That's exciting. Jimbo, you've been in it. Nate, you've been in it.
I haven't.
Yes, sir.
First year.
Nice.
Right on. So we got a lot of vets. And then JD's probably going to pop on at some point as well of GOAT District fame, and he is a super vet. But yeah, I just, we all are just super pumped, and it's pretty cool to have such well-represented crew in the Scott Fishbowl, because everyone in this group, I think, is really good at giving back and good at like picking each other up and stuff. I think that's a good reason of how there's so many of us in the Scott Fish Bowl. So I want to go to one of the vets. Brian's just leaning out of the camera as I was going to go to him, but let's go to D Brown. Let's go to D Brown. You snooze, you lose, Brian. Yeah. So like, what would you give as a big tip? Like, what are some of the tips you might give a first timer, DB?
Maybe just not overthinking it. When it comes time for draft, most of us have done 100 mocks already, whether it be via simulator or one of the official MFL mocks. If you did one of those, you've probably only done one because they drag out a good bit. But just playing your draft. You're going to see that your draft in particular might be unlike any of the other ones. ADP kind of goes out the window once these things kick off. But you do get a chance to see other drafts that are moving at a faster pace than yours. So, don't be afraid to slow down a little bit. Everybody's trigger happy, wanting to make their picks, but there's no harm in using a little bit of clock, slowing down your draft just a little bit and watching a couple of other ones unfold for the real deal.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than the guy who's whining about his Scott Fish Bowl, that division being drafting slow. Just enjoy the ride, be a sponge, enjoy the experience. That's a perfect way to put it. And use the other leagues as reference points for ADP, because like you said, these scoring settings are so abstract that we don't really have any data or ADP to go off of for the most part. Bride Guy, what do you think? Like, would you recommend somebody be very active and participate? Do you think they should just kind of go along for the ride and enjoy it their first year? And what do you do with your team? Like, are you going YOLO mode and trying to differentiate from these, thousands of teams, or are you kind of sticking to basics when it comes to how you play fantasy football?
Who was that?
Is he frozen? That was for you, Brad Guy.
Man, beach life must be nice out there, eh?
I don't know what's going on, man. The internet's all messed up. My screen's flickering. I had the laptop up trying to get some more airflow in.
I think you've had the most experience in the Scott Fish Bowl. Are you going more YOLO mode and trying to differentiate when it comes to how you play fantasy football, or are you just going sticking to the basics, so to speak?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going in with no plan, really, because I came into the fishbowl there last year saying, "Oh, I'm gonna just hammer running backs and stuff," but then guys fell to me like Devontae Adams in the 3rd round, and I'm like, okay, well, my RB heavy mode is out of the window now. You got to take value, you got to stay water, that old cliche, but you have to have sort of a plan going in, know the scoring settings, know where you might be able to take advantage of a few things, but you just really got to take it as it comes. Like Dan was saying there, every draft is going to be different, like another one. Like you'll see stuff on Twitter of where guys were taken, and it could be a couple rounds different in just one other division. So everything's all over the place. Guys are going to shoot their shots, but yeah, I'm probably going to treat it a little bit more hit or miss, sort of like GPP and DFS,
Yeah, totally. You even see some like Millie Maker vibes in some people's draft strategies come Fish Bowl time. So Nate, what do you think? Like, have you done any mock drafts, and have you found them helpful? And what kind of resources are you going off? Because a lot of people have a hard time getting into the platform that the Scott Fish Bowl is played on sometimes.
I've definitely done some mocks, maybe to just kind of establish what to do in certain scenarios. But I believe once the draft actually starts, that pretty much all that will go out the window, because I know guys will be reaching and stuff. And just, getting on MFL, and this is the first year I've ever even used that platform, so I'm trying to get familiar with that. And just talk to people in the community big time, being a first timer and the scoring being the way it is. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can before we start the real drafts.
And Smoke, what do you think of some of the settings like for this year? Like, what are you walking in? Because you weren't in it last year, so not a lot of the settings have changed from last year to this year. Other than we've introduced kickers and the 3rd round reversal. So, what do you think of some of the settings that you're walking into?
I mean, I'm a guy who loves like out there settings on stuff, so this is just this is just nature for me. But I thought I was done with kickers. I thought that we have moved past the point where kickers had relevance, but now we are pulled, dragged back into the fray. And you know what? I'm seriously considering a couple, but probably not till later.
Yeah. And, we'll get into some of the profiles of players that we actually like move around when it comes to these weird settings for the Scott Fishbowl, because you think of like banger running backs are pretty much adjusted for inflation going back to like the 90s. We're kind of treating banger running backs like it's the 90s in the Scott Fishbowl. Actually, maybe we should get into like what the Scott Fishbowl is. I think if you're looking to like immerse yourself in the community of the Scott Fishbowl, which is a very amazing orbit to be in, use the hashtag Scott Fishbowl 10 SFB11. I mean, hashtag SFB11. And that's kind of the best way to find out just as much as you can about the Scott Fish world, about Fantasy Cares. I suggest everybody go to fantasycares.net. At ScottFish24 will be the Twitter follower to be, following this whole time. Make sure he's on your Twitter lists and everything. So Jimbo, let's go to you, buddy. What are you doing for prep and everything? Like, are you prepping? Are you getting excited? Are you involved in the community? What are you doing with your avatar? Hit me.
Yeah, so my Avi is hopefully being done on the down low by a pretty good graphic designer.
Really?
Just like, man, you got to get in. Like, I'm in the 11 spot. I like it in the SFB 11. So I made sure you're in the 11 chat. We're talking strategies on it. I'm a big fan of that third round reversal for the 11-12.
I'm sure you are, buddy.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
I think that's a big game changer when it comes to strategy coming down to it. There's a lot of different plays you can make going down with it, but for prepping, like just knowing the scoring settings, trying to get through them, and getting in the chats really, and doing a couple mocks. Try to get live mocks too, because computer mocks just are not realistic. I'll tell you that. Like they're good to practice, but like you could throw them out the window. It's not going to happen like that.
So just in case people aren't like totally familiar with the Scott Fishbowl and they want to stay engaged in this conversation, like it is one of the biggest fantasy tournaments ever conceived of. Basically, it's like a pros versus listeners style format, kind of lending to that camaraderie of the Scott Fishbowl. But like there's celebrities, the biggest names in fantasy football. But I think it's maybe a little bit disingenuous to call it a pros versus Joes tournament, because some of the pros, yeah, they're the biggest names in fantasy, like an Evan Silva or Ryan McDowell, but they're also like lower end of the spectrum, ma and pa shops even for podcasts. And what I think is cool is Scott's not only giving these, entities exposure, but he also gives them, Scott Fishbowl entries to give away. So he's also kind of letting these smaller podcasts get a lot of traction, a little, more interaction just around the horn. I think it's too cool. And what I want to ask about is the themes, right? Every year, one of the coolest parts is the life that the themes takes on in itself. It was toys last year. It was classic video games the year before. And it's bands this year, which is like a pretty cool way to go about it, except you're going to make some enemies with omissions and stuff. So it was pretty fun to go through some of these divisions. So D Brown, is there any like, did you request the division? Did you get in the division you requested? And what division are you in?
I did get in the division I requested, and I'm in the Halsey division, and I'm picking out of the 3 slot. So, I'm in the 103. I think Smoke also has the 103. So we've been in the 103 chat together, and they've been fairly active today. They were getting after it in that chat. I came back for a while, and there's 60 plus notifications in there. So it's been great mix of guys in there. So, but I did request Halsey, and I got there. I didn't request a draft slot. I was just kind of throwing that one into the wind, and third round reversal, I have mixed feelings on it. Right off the rip, being at the 103, I'm not happy about it. But as Brother Matt alluded to in the comments, there is some nice running backs available right there at the 3-4 turn. And that's been something that's been pretty constant in mocks that I've been doing. So I don't mind it with just how it's shaking out player value wise with the scoring settings adjusted.
Smokey, Steven in the chat, have you guys entertained Travis Kelce at the 3 spot? And what does that do for you with the 3rd round reversal?
Yeah, Kelsey's definitely in the discussion there at the 103, and folks have been talking about that. I think we know that those top 3, 4, or 5 tight ends are gonna be heavily targeted in those first 2 rounds, and picking there at the 103, that might be your only chance to get one of those top 3 guys. There's no guarantee that the tight end 3 even will be there coming back around at the end of the second. So Kelsey's in the discussion. CMC's in the discussion at 3, and then it comes down to which quarterback fell. Pat Mahomes. Do you want to take your shot on one of these other Josh Allen, Kyler Murray type guys? Lock up your QB1 now. That's kind of been a strategy that I've been favoring in a lot of the mocks I've been doing, is getting a QB1 or a QB2 as far as scoring settings go, locking them up right then, and then letting the rest of the board dictate the 2nd and 3rd round. I've got my quarterback. If nothing else, I'm playing the board. I'm going to see what comes back to me. If one of those top 3 tight ends does come back to me at the 2, it's probably going to be a smash, Waller type area. I have a feeling that the top 3 will be gone before you get there to the 209. So, take that for what you want, but I don't mind getting quarterback there. And then, like I mentioned, the running backs that are available right there, that's typically what I've been doing at the 3-4 turn or 2, 3, and 4. Technically, I'm trying to nab two running backs in those 3 rounds that I like. And then, like I said, being open to the tight end position or potentially getting a wide receiver 1 that's falling down.
Hey, Ty, you mind if I jump in on that actually, just while we're on the topic? Because I actually have the 102 in the Scott Fish Bowl, and I'm in a mock where I actually took Travis Kelce. Sorry to hijack there, Ty. I just felt like it was kind of timely.
No, anyone jump in anytime.
Chat about this. And so I took Kelce at the 102 just because, like Ben said in the chat, he is a cheat code, and it's ridiculous in this. Points for first downs and points, like 0.75 extra PPR. So he is definitely a cheat code, and I think he could be in the running for some at 101. So I took him at 102, and then I'm thinking, man, this 3rd round reversal makes it really tough, because if I take a quarterback at my 2nd pick, I have a long wait until my 3rd pick, and I already feel like going tight end quarterback kind of hamstrings me a little bit for being able to build kind of strength for the top of my roster, where the running backs and wide receivers come. So I was a little bit worried about it, but it's a mock, so I wanted to experiment and see how it shook out, right? And so we come back around, and I decided to go for Aaron Jones in the 2nd round and just kind of wing it at quarterback and see what happens. And so it's funny because I came back around, and this is super unfortunate and embarrassing to admit, but I had an auto pick from my list there, and I didn't get the chance to go back in and tinker with it, knowing who was available. And so I took DeAndre Swift in the 3rd round. So I went Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, no quarterback. Ended up getting Kirk Cousins in the 4th round, which I was stoked about. And then I recovered with Allen Robinson in the 5th and Justin Fields in the 6th. And both of those, I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen in the real dance, but to get those 2 guys, Justin Fields and Allen Robinson, as a stack after going tight end early and not going quarterback in the first 2 rounds, I was pretty stoked about that recovery to be able to have quarterbacks I can rely on.
And I think that's obviously the debate. Are you willing to pass on elite quarterback to take Travis Kelce? Because you also, like D Brown said, want to come away with those top 4 picks with a couple running backs who you trust, right? And I'm just looking at the scoring from last year. So the top 6 guys who in Scott Fish Bowl, 10 scoring, which is very similar, were quarterbacks. The next highest scoring player was Travis Kelce. He scored more points than any running back last year. So, and obviously the positional, advantage that you're getting on top of that is hard to quantify. So what do you think of that? Smoke, be the tiebreaker here.
If Kelsey's there when I'm at the 103, I am instantly taking him. No questions asked. Throughout my draft process this year, I've been very much into the elite tight end. I got to get one of those top 3 or 4 guys. I really like my team builds that have fallen from there. In the 3 mocks so far for Scott Fishbowl that I've done, I've ended up with Cousins on all 3 builds in either the 3rd or the 4th round, and I don't hate that. But yeah, there's a debate. I mean, I've done a build with Dak. I've done a build with CMC, who fell to me at 103, which is fucking crazy. Because anyone who knows me knows I'm not really a CMC guy, but man, fucking smash. Come on. But no, I got to get that elite tight end because, like Trav said, it's probably not coming back. Or sorry, Dan said it's probably not coming back around for our picks where we're at. So you got to really make a commitment and a conscious choice and see, I mean, what the opportunity cost is there, because it's going to be a big decision, especially with that 3rd round reversal, because we're right at the back end of the 2nd and the 3rd. So,
Craig,
you got to know.
What division are you in, Craig, and what pick are you?
So I ended up in a Kelly Clarkson division. This was kind of an interesting choice for me just because I'm more of a country music fan. There wasn't a lot of options out there for that.
Yeah,
so
underrepresented, yes. But they are kind of the Houston Texans of the genre, right? Like the 2021 Houston Texans.
Oh, always.
Double
always
burn.
Taking the Houston Texans jabs.
Yeah, and I have the 7th spot. I'm somebody that likes to be in the middle, kind of regardless. Especially, like when you're playing with people that kind of know what they're doing too, it's a lot more difficult to be like towards the ends. And I think this is kind of interesting too, because, people put in their draft preferences. So ideally everybody's kind of in a spot that they like, that they're very comfortable with too. So that makes things a lot more interesting, I think, as well.
Totally. That is very interesting. What about you, Nate? What division are you in? What pick do you have?
I'm in the Kendrick Lamar division, and I'm actually picking at 12. I did request that after trying some mocks with some different positions, but the 3rd round reversal kind of sold it for me. So I'm picking at the turn, which I found myself going quarterback like Russell Wilson, Saquon Barkley, something like that, and then getting the quarterback the 3rd round reversal. So I know there's an importance on tight ends, so usually aiming for somebody like Hawkinson in the 4th. And then after that, just kind of going from there.
No, that sounds good. That sounds good. Jimbo, what division are you in?
ELO.
That's right, yeah.
Woo! Jeff Lynn, baby!
Yeah, so that was I wanted Queen, but I put him as my number 2 because I thought that was going to get jammed up. So then I just put ELO as my number 1 division because, well, fuck, I love Jeff Lynn. And they got some banger tunes and always reminds me of summer. So, and I like the 11. Yeah. I didn't actually ask for the 11. I left that spot preference void. I just thought that would maybe give you a better shot to getting in the show because they could just slip you in wherever. But I do like the 11 spot because of the 3rd round reversal. It's funny. Exactly what Nate was saying there. I've been doing some mocks and I've been liking Saquon Barkley falls me around 11. I tried one mock where I hit Saquon double tight end at the 2-3 because you came back with I hit Waller and then Kittle. And then my running or my quarterbacks I swung and missed on. I missed Matt Stafford, who I really, really like coming in late. And I missed Tom Brady, which were 2 of my targets. So I ended up having to roll with it wasn't too good that I like for this format, but it was Daniel Jones. Yeah, Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. I call it a Jones squared. But it was not good. Like you gotta hit a late round quarterback if you're doing that, like Justin Herbert last year. And talking in the 11th spot, where he's going, the guy that could be this year's Justin Herbert, he's not a rookie, but it's Deshaun Watson. Based on like where you end up taking him, like you can be taking him. I've seen as early as 10, as late as 13, and 13's where I'd be comfortable taking him. 12, 13.
QB 13 or round 13?
Round?
No.
Yeah.
Round 13.
There's no way he's going to be there in round 13.
Who was that? Who was that?
There's no way Deshaun Watson will be available
I've done
in the double-digit rounds.
No,
I'm just saying, like I've
Not
done
in my mock.
probably 4
Because I'm going
mocks.
to
And
take
I've
him in
seen
like
them.
the 8th round. If he's there.
Everybody's probably just trying
Okay,
to wait
well-
and see who's going to take him, and nobody's taking him.
I think Jim's making a
Probably.
good point, though. The point he's making is that you can find players who you can get a discount on, and if that player hits, you are hitting on a very big discount that a small percentage of the entire player pool in the Scott Fishbowl are hitting on, hence giving you a little bit of an advantage. So I definitely agree with that, but I'm telling you, Jimbo, I think you got to take him before round 13.
I'm not taking him. That's the point. I'm not going to. I know I'm not going to take him unless he absolutely plummets. The earliest I've seen him go is 10 in the mocks I've done. Latest was like 12, 13.
Yeah,
But again,
everyone
I
wants to love
don't
the
also
mock,
trust
but
these
Deshaun's
mocks.
not going to go.
I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't trust these mocks. Like I'm not giving you what I really want in these mocks. Like playing a little bit.
Trav was probably getting auto picked at that point.
Devontae Booker,
I
second
deserve
round.
that. I deserve that. Yeah.
Trav, would you want to maybe lay out some of the scoring settings? I know I kind of skipped over a lot of, like I actually put a video out the other day, just kind of going through a lot of the benefits, just what I think the impact that Scott Fishbowl has had, not just on, individuals like ourselves, but, or, kids around the world, but also just on the fantasy community as a whole, just the community that he's fostered inside of this niche community on Twitter. I just think is so cool. But why don't you get into some of the scoring settings, because that's another really fun wrinkle that Scott throws into the Scott Fishbowl.
Yeah, and definitely anybody who's watching, go back and check out the YouTube channel for that video that Ty put up the other day, because it was really a really good summary of what the Scott Fishbowl brings to the fantasy football community. So I thought he laid that out really nicely. But to go over some of the scoring here, guys, I got it pulled up, and so for passing, it's your 6-point passing touchdown league, -4 for an interception. So that is pretty large, and that definitely weighs in to how we're looking at these quarterbacks. -2 if it's a pick six. So in total, -6 for a pick six. These ones are interesting for passers, though. -1 point for a sack. That's fine. -1 for an incompletion, and a half point for a completion. So an incompletion docks you double what a completion will actually give you.
Yeah,
so,
you can almost think of it as 0.5 for,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's basically -0.5 per incompletion, and then it comes out in the wash. But it is definitely another wrinkle as well, because that's where a guy like Daniel Jones, you were saying, Jimmy, might be a little bit sketchy in the inaccuracy department. And so what you're hoping with him is that the rushing upside can compensate for that, obviously, because as we look into, hopefully, and hopefully no fumbles either. But when you look at rushing, 6 points for a rushing TD, we all know that, a point for 10 yards, 2 points for a 2-point convert, but a half point per first down. So that's pretty cool, because those runners who can kind of bang those 3 yards to get that first down on third down, or those guys who are consistently getting chunk plays, are going to get you that extra half point per first down that they get. You know what's funny, guys? I could have sworn there was a point per carry situation last year, but I'm not seeing that when I look. So we're going to move on to the receiving points. Or I thought it was like a half point per carry or something, but maybe I was tripping, which is a likely possibility. So for receiving scoring, it's a half point for first down, and it's a half point per reception. So it's kind of like a tiered PPR kind of thing, where the wide receivers get the half point, and I don't see that for the rushing, or I guess it's a half point for everybody. Sorry, and the rushing doesn't give you the point per carry. Moving into the tight ends, though, this is where it gets pretty saucy. You get an extra half point per first down and an extra half point per reception. So earlier I said it was an extra 0.75, and I was also tripping. So it's a good thing I pulled this up and didn't go off the top of my head like we planned before the show. Am I right, guys?
Or I could have done it.
I actually thought you were going off the top of your head. So yes,
it is good to be back, guys. It's good to be back. Let me tell you.
Nailed it.
First game in the new stadium. It's your first game in the new stadium, and we give
I'm like
you
a baby. I'm like a baby giraffe on the mic tonight.
But just to you guys are totally right. Just to lend to that, somebody like Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, they were scoring much higher in this format. But I think one thing that people did was push down guys like Josh Allen. Obviously, was the most devalued quarterback last year, as kind of the running joke, and he was the second highest scoring quarterback by a wide margin in this format last year. But guys like Russell Wilson move up for me. Tom Brady, obviously, those kind of quarterbacks are definitely moving up your board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it kind of lends to those alpha receivers as well that are getting those first downs too.
Daniel Jones scored I'm really sorry, but the whole thing here is that you can lose points for being inaccurate and turning the ball over. So Daniel Jones scored 127.5 fantasy points in this format last year. Dak Prescott scored 144.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
In 9 fewer games.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to mock, right? Like you got to know. Like
that's a fantastic stat. Ty, can you go tweet that out right now?
That scoring though, it can happen to anybody. Like I had Kirk Cousins on my team last year, and one of the weeks he got me, because of low volume at the very beginning of the year, he got me a -20.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
because he's not giving you those 25 completions a game.
Yeah,
that's
and
really
he didn't throw a touchdown. You know, so. You know, it was a run-heavy game script, and not too much volume, and I ended up taking a big brunt. So not even, like you mentioned, Kirk Cousins typically is in that higher completion percentage. He's not always going to give you a positive, and that's where you got to be careful too. If you're going to wait on quarterback in this scoring setting, sometimes a lot of us that play a lot of superflex, we always want to have that quarterback in that second superflex spot, right? It could be more advantage to play a running back in that spot and take advantage of those guaranteed points, where if in a bad matchup, your second quarterback could possibly get you negative points and losing.
If he's Carson Wentz a la 2020.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And Wentz would have been somebody who was just, devastatingly horrible in this scoring settings. Hey, Nate, what do you think? I saw Ben Eby in the chat. Shout out to Ben, just a really great follow on Twitter. Nate, what do you think about Ryan Tannehill, who is going to be pegged as the darling of this format? I think how well he did last year, he did pretty well, but he was quarterback 9 or something in this 2, 4, 6. He was the quarterback 7 in a tier with Brady, I guess. So he did pretty well last year in this scoring setting. But do you have any worry about some of these low volume guys? I think that's a pretty good point by Brad Guy.
I actually love Tannehill for this. With the third round reversal, he's usually one of the few guys that are there in the mocks that I've done anyway. And in 26 games in Tennessee, he's had 21 where he scored over 20 points. So I like the safety of that for me. It's not a super big risk. So, yeah, I've been eyeballing Tannehill a lot.
Yeah, I love Tannehill. Hashtag discount Josh Allen.
Really?
Is the Ryan Tannehill train.
Do you think they increased the volume though?
Yeah, I was big in on Tannehill last year, and the acquisition of Julio Jones. As much as I hate to see him go, seeing him in Nashville with Ryan Tannehill just bodes well for Tannehill.
And with your boy AJB Brown.
Love it.
And I think you can stack. I think another thing we should maybe ask about is stacking. What do you think, Smoke? Do you think you should be stacking guys? So if you add a Ryan Tannehill early, are you trying to immediately add an AJ Brown? Are you trying to add a Julio a couple rounds earlier, who might be a guy you can get a discount on, who might also offer a lot of those first down upsides?
I mean, do you really got to convince me to draft AJ Brown? But you know what? If it means reaching beyond value, no, I'm not really willing to do that. I'd rather take the more valuable player to my roster. But if a stack's within reach and I'm not sacrificing a bunch to get it, yeah, giddy up.
So, Jimbo, what are you doing about how big this tournament is? Is stacking something you're going to try and implement, or are you going to kind of just attack it and be super liquid? Do you have any really locked-in strategies? Are you going to zig while others zag? What are you doing going into it with so many teams?
So,
and just one entry. You can't do multiple things.
My main thing is in the regular season, just try to get into playoffs based on wins. It's not really winning my division. It's just based on wins. So, if I can get the 9, I'm set. I don't really care. But then
Just really quick, Jimbo, can
Yeah.
you tell people how that works in the Scott Fish Bowl?
So you can get into the playoffs winning your division. You can get into the playoffs scoring the most points in your division, or you can get in the playoffs guaranteed in your conference by scoring 9 wins throughout the regular season. It's to climb the 9. That's what you need to do.
I like it. And
Noted.
what week does it start? Do you know with the added game? Is it week 13?
Ooh, that I don't know. I actually got to check that
Yeah.
out. But I know, like,
We
because
all do, I
last
guess,
year,
yeah.
last year was week 13, and that was actually the week that the Golden Darling boy, that late round quarterback that actually brought me to the playoffs, Justin Herbert, had a bad week, man. Like, he actually was the reason I didn't advance through those playoffs that week early in the playoffs.
Belichick.
And let's not
Yeah.
forget, there's week 14 buys this year, folks.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
is gnarly.
I believe the
we're, like,
playoff.
are you factoring that in?
Well, see, you got to factor that in. If you like, unless you're trying to exactly win your division and get the rolling bye week, you got to factor that in, right? Like the week 14 buys.
Yeah, I
And,
don't think sorry, Ty. I don't think I'd factor it in too much at the draft, because I'm not gonna necessarily avoid guys, say, at the top of the draft to compensate for week 14. But I think I would be conscious of it when I'm stacking my depth. You know what I mean? So if I'm wanting to go, say, a 3-quarterback build, and the first guy has a draft or a buy in week 14, which I think Dak might have the week 14 buy smoke. Does he not?
It's just a lot of people have.
I wouldn't be making that 3rd quarterback a week 14 buy as well. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe
I think,
it wasn't Dak,
like,
but
sometimes
yeah.
people really overblow bye weeks, though. I think late bye
Yeah.
weeks, like, you would have faded the Chiefs a couple years ago. You would have faded a lot of teams a lot of years that you really would have regretted fading.
Yeah, and you have to
and
be
in
in the
this
hunt
format
then too, right? Like, if
yeah,
you're
that's
out
why
of
I
it, then
asked,
that
because
doesn't
I think
matter.
it's kind of. That's what I think. It's either or. Like, you should be playing to get in the playoffs, or you should be, identifying late season strength of schedules, avoiding these late season buys, and trying to maybe be that team who can really separate during the playoffs when it starts in this Scott Fish Bowl. Because that's what I was getting at, is that it is kind of two separate tournaments in itself, with all the multiple leagues that combine into one separate tournament, basically, once the playoffs start. And that's why you see some of these, best ball GPP strategies really coming to the surface, I think. Craig, what do you think about waivers? Or even Brian, I'd love for you to weigh in after Craig too. Like, are you planning to be very attentive in waivers? And Brian, do you find that in the past they have been very attentive owners in your league when it comes to waivers? Because this is a format, maybe we shouldn't worry about week 14 buys, because we do have waivers and we could probably figure something out by then.
Mm-hmm. I think you definitely have to be attentive to it. In general, with how deep everything is, the waivers are going to be a little bit more thin too. So I expect, kind of people to go a little bit stir crazy early on. So just trying to be patient, kind of pick my poison here and there, make sure I'm somebody, like, especially with Fab, I always try to make sure I have some left over towards the end of the year, because you can just win players really easy at the end of the year when you might need them the most, because you can bid $3 and nobody else can bid more than $2.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good point, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with $100 Fab budget. That's pretty tight budget, right? Especially if you blow your load early in the season, you might be hoops towards the end of the season.
And what do you say? What say you, Mr. Veteran Bry guy? Like, have you noticed people are like, do you have to bid up on these guys, or is there a bunch of guys who aren't paying attention to waivers in the Scott Fish Bowl?
At the beginning, it's quite competitive. I've sort of, if I have a guy I really like, I'm gonna bid up the guy just to make sure I get him. But you find in this tournament, it almost seems like your division fans mixed with analysts or whoever, as the year goes on, it seems almost like they stop paying as much attention to it, and waivers seem easier to get, I find, in the last 3 years that I've done it. Or 2 years. But I don't know. If I see a guy I like, I'm going to be aggressive to get him. And then not so aggressive near the end. It's easy near the end.
So I think that's really well put, for sure, because I think that's exactly how it's going to play out. And that makes the most sense, for sure. I also think we should place, positional, like wide receivers are going to be much easier to get than they might be the only friggin' thing available in the waiver wire as well. Like you're not going to get a quarterback. You're not going to get a lot of decent running backs. I'll be drafted all the backup running backs. Sorry. So, what are the Dynasty Suns doing overall, Nate and D Brown? What are you guys doing with wide receiver as a whole? Let's just shift this conversation to, how we're dealing with the wide receiver position in this tournament.
Well, it's kind of unique because we both draft at different ends. So I'm not sure about D Brown, but for me, I'm usually waiting on wide receiver until like the 7th round. And the few mocks I've done, it just seems to play out the best way unless I get somebody like Tyreek or something at the 201. But I've been waiting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a common strategy no matter your draft position throughout the way. Most people are kind of looking to go elsewhere other than the wide receiver position, just because it feels like a position that's so deep this year as is. And then knowing the priority of running backs, potentially those top quarterbacks and top tight ends, those are what are drying up quickly. There's wide receivers for days that you feel content with at the end of the draft. But you can't say the same about if you decide to hold off on running back. It's slim pickings past the 5th and 6th round, and then all of a sudden you find yourself, potentially even reaching for a guy just to fill that RB void that you're now facing. And that's not a boat that I like to be heading down the river in. I want to lock up those positions early. And I think regardless of where you're picking, that's kind of the strategy that's kind of coming your way is looking at running backs, looking at a top 3 tight end or a top 6 or 7 quarterback in this scoring setting. So those are really the top 2-3 rounds. Get the value that falls to you. And you, of course, be open to taking the likes of a Tyreek Hill and those guys. When the value's right, you'll know it. But at the end of the day, I think waiting on wide receiver is gonna what you'll be happy with your team best at the end of the day.
Is there anybody who's kind of reaching up there for an elite wide receiver? Is there anybody placing a premium, and who would that guy be? Like we have Devontae Adams, Tyreek.
It is really tempting, man. It's really tempting because I think in the format, from what I've seen, going on a wide receiver high is probably like mid to late 2nd round, right? I saw like Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill available into like at least the late 2nd in a draft. Yeah. And you can get elite options in the 3rd, 4th
last year.
Yeah,
I got Tyreek in the 3rd last year. Paired him with Mahomes, but guess what? I didn't win, guys. So talking about elite quarterback and an elite wide receiver that were tethered together, and I still didn't have a great team.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it does. For me, I'm starting to look in probably like the 4th, 5th round to see who's there. You know what I mean? I was in a spot in that mock I was talking about where Allen Robinson was kind of the last of a tier of wide receivers that I wanted as one of those alphas who I think is going to get a bunch of those first downs and a high reception total. So
wide receiver 8 in this format last year.
Yeah, and I got him in the 5th round right now. So I think if you can get one of those guys, I think you're going to be happy, and then you can even lay off wide receiver for a round or 2 after that, and then come back into it if you stack some running backs or maybe get that 2nd or 3rd quarterback. Or if you didn't take a Travis Kelce early like I did, you could be looking at Mark Andrews was available till I think like a couple picks before Allen Robinson, so you could see him in that 4th round if people are kind of lagging on picking up some of those stud tight ends. Yeah, that's another one that I don't know if it's going to happen, but a lot of people are dogging Mark Andrews with the addition of Rashad Bateman, and I think that's presented a little bit of a buying opportunity for him, actually.
No, and I think the scoring changes wide receivers quite a bit. It's interesting, right? Like you just somebody like AJ Brown was a guy that, we all love him to death, but I don't know if he was a top 15 wide receiver in this format. A lot of his plays were big plays, so it's we're kind of devaluing even the big play wide receivers that we love. And I think it's interesting, like somebody like Keenan Allen is going to be, somebody who's more interesting in this format. Man. I take a lot of heat saying, sorry, he caught 100 balls, but didn't have 1,000 yards receiving last year. I'm sorry that happened, but, and I have to say it once in a while, but in this format, he he definitely comes across
Well,
more like a squeaky clean player.
Get yourself a second
And
round Justin Herbert, and then you save your first round pick and not have to use that on a quarterback. So you get one of those maybe elite running backs in the first round, or maybe a Travis Kelce. And then if you can get a Justin Herbert, and then you get Keenan Allen, who's like a lock for 100 receptions and a buttload of first downs, like, come on.
9th most first downs last year receiving.
I want to ask Nate real quick. In the 7th round mocks or that you've been doing, who's the wide receiver one that's usually been falling to you?
If I wait that long, it's usually DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp. Trying to think of some other ones. Those two are usually always
listening.
there.
Okay.
Hey,
yeah,
Will, if
okay,
you're
perfect.
listening,
That's the
Cooper
exact
Kupp's the
same.
wide receiver one. Hear
And
that?
that's not terrible.
That's the
Suck it,
exact same
dummy.
that's been falling to me. And
If
I
you-
don't mind
if you-
DJ Moore.
If
as
you
my wide
hammer
receiver
wide
one.
receiver for 4 straight rounds at that point, you have a pretty decent core that you're trotting out on a weekly basis. So if you can avoid that position all the way up until that point in the draft, and then still feel good about your wide receiver core at the end of the day, not to mention depth guys, which you can paint a picture for a ton of these guys down here in the 10th double-digit rounds, even as
Marvin
far as
Jones,
depth pieces
Brandon
go.
Cooks.
So, I really am again employing the, hold off on wide receiver. Once again, if the value's right, don't be afraid to pull the trigger, maybe lock up a wide receiver one, but then you can, justify even punting wide receiver till round 8 if need be, because you have such a solid foundation piece in the wide receiver one role, so just fading wide receiver and then hammering them in the middle to late rounds, I think is what's going to be most beneficial.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I think that's the way to do it. Because, and I think people might, I don't think things change that much. We're just moving that wide receiver run that we want to usually do in the running back dead zone in our best ball drafts or whatever back a couple rounds. I think that's all we're doing. But I think you said it, D-Brown. We want to make sure we hammer it once we start hitting wide receiver. Because if you look last year, it was Travis Kelce, then Darren Waller, the next 17 highest scoring pass catchers were wide receivers before you get to TJ Hawkinson, Robert Tonyan, and Logan Thomas again. So that's pretty crazy. 17 of them in between the top 2 tight ends and the next 3 tight ends.
The other thing
so
I was going to say, the other thing this year that I like and I've been talking about is a safe floor on kickers, man. When you're going to be you can flex 4 of them. And I was saying, if you can make the climb to 9 regular season without really having to use kickers, except for maybe 1 or 2 in the bye weeks, they're going to help you in weeks 13, 14 when you hit those buys. And you can plug in a Justin Tucker for 12 or 11 points guaranteed. That's better than negative points that you're going to get. Or because when you're going to hit those kickers this year that I've been saying to people, it's in the Gio Bernard range, when I'm looking at guys, and I'm going to take the safe floor on a guy that I know is trotting out, getting 3.8 points for a field goal, right? Hopefully you get a guy and you got a chart that tells you that guys that have hit, I have a chart that shows you how consistent guys were, where they've actually been hitting their field goals. So I have a good base on which kickers I kind of want. And if you can get a guy,
I think you want accuracy, right? Accuracy, just really quick, because the way the scoring settings are, it's just like everything else in the Scott Fishbowl, it really pumps up accuracy because you get negative points for missed field goals and stuff.
But you either want teams too that are going to score a lot of points and get a lot of extra points, because that's 2, 3, 4 points that they can get on touchdowns, or teams that just fall short. They can get there and just fall short in the red zone, and they're kicking easy field goals, 36-yard. Yeah, 36-yard field goals. Just pump them through. That's what you want.
Justin Tucker. So where would you take a Justin Tucker, Jimbo?
Ooh, so I got chirped on it. I said round 11.
I just want to make sure you are in fact taking him before Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Way too early.
I think
what did I say? 12, 13 for Deshaun Watson.
But I think that's where
guaranteed to
I
be
wanted to
playing.
ask because it is where they're going to go. Like the top kickers are going to go pretty soon after you get in the double-digit rounds. I think in Scott Fishbowl.
Because, like I said, if you can flex out 4 of them
Not me.
when it comes week 13, week 14 that are going to hit you double-digit points, that's what's going to end up carrying you through. Yo, I think
What's
so.
the scoring? Does anyone have the scoring?
The scoring, yes.
Because it's fractional scoring.
You didn't let me get there. I was getting there. Okay, so it is not like your 2 points for a field goal up to 30 and 3 points for a 40 to 30 and more. It's not like that. It is. They basically just do 1/10 of the yardage. So if it's a 37-yarder, it's 3.7 points. If they score a 40-yarder, that's 4 points. 50-yarder, 5 points. So, I mean, if these guys are hitting 4, sometimes you get like 5, 6 in those odd games, and say those are all 30. Like that kicker's scoring 25 points, man. It's pretty wild, actually.
Kickers can miss 10 to 15 kicks a year. So what are you getting for these negatives?
It's -3 for a miss and -1 for a missed extra point.
I mean, if you're questioning quarterbacks for interceptions, you definitely got to question these kickers. Now you're talking about accuracy, like you mentioned, is probably the biggest factor you could take. Because if you're trotting a kicker out there and all of a sudden he's getting you negative points, you're gonna feel like a fucking idiot.
Big time.
And what if you had Dan Bailey who missed like 6 extra points? You're just like, this guy is the worst kicker. What was I thinking? Like, and Dan Bailey would be somebody who's going to go in like 15th round.
I'm open to taking a kicker to get me through maybe that hard time. The problem is I have a really good imagination, and I can paint a picture where Mecole Hardman is getting 150 and 2 tutties any given week, and that's going to be hard pressed for me to send a Carlson out there over my imagination that is growing fonder and fonder every week into the NFL season. So I think ultimately I'm open to taking a kicker, but I'm sure as hell not going to be the first one in my league to take one. Probably not the third, probably not the 4th or 5th, but maybe I'm looking for a back end kicker, a kicker 1, K1 right here, but maybe an 11 or a 12 somewhere in there, just to fill out in case I find myself with injuries or the son of a gun outbid me on the waiver wire that I needed to plug in. Boom, I'll plug a kicker in, but I am not going to spend any substantial capital down that road.
Last year, Justin Tucker hit double-digit points twice.
Yeah, and that's not only because, he's a great kicker, but Baltimore goes for it on 4th down a ton. Like, there's a lot of reasons that analyzing kickers is too hard of work. It's just too much work. Like, think of a guy like Young Koo, who's going to be very highly valued, but he only kicked 6 times in the dome this year. Like, it's they have one of the worst strength of schedules, and they're just out not in Atlanta very much during the fantasy season. So, some of these kickers I think are going to get really overvalued. I think kickers have like an line element to it where we get him wrong a lot too, where the kicker we think is going to be there in week 12 just ain't. I don't know what to do with kickers, and I think other people just might have a contrived game plan to attack kickers, and I'll just be taking backup running backs that whole time.
Yeah. I think like if you really have a hankering to take a kicker, you do what D Brown said. You let 5 or 6 people take a kicker, and then you look for that kicker who's a part of a high-powered offense, and maybe just add him to your roster. And if they're scoring points, ideally he's scoring some points as well. But the shitty part about it comes back to the analysis that you were talking about, Ty. I think all we're looking at for kickers is previous season stats. And I think we know in seeing the kicking game across the NFL that previous season stats can pretty much get fucked as far as predicting what's going to happen next year, right? I think what you can look at is those teams that are going for it on 4th down and stuff, Ty, which would be a hindrance for a kicker, and maybe that's an avoid situation. But I don't see anything that's specifically telling me, okay, this is what I want out of a kicker in the Scott Fishbowl, right? Because it feels like there's just way more randomness than regular fantasy football, obviously. So
I still think, and there's probably a better chance you hit on a kicker during the waiver wire than you get a great value on a kicker during the draft. And so that's my point. I think, like, I might overpay a little bit on the waiver wire for a kicker.
And
Smoke, settle it. You're the tiebreaker tonight.
You've seen what kickers are doing for teams at that point too, right? So you got a better gauge on the impact for sure. Smoke.
I'm with Dan on this. I'm not spending any significant capital on one. If one falls to me, fantastic. But You know, I don't even have to paint a picture of Miko Hardman kicking ass out there. I can just say that I'm okay on not being right about kickers. I'll take a couple late dart throws and stuff, you know, in the 15 plus maybe if there's any left or anything like that. But give me a positional player. Like Ty said,
So
if some of these kickers don't even make the full season, if they start shitting the bed and they get replaced, boom, grab that guy off waivers, and you don't have to worry about wasting a draft slot on that.
So Jimbo, I'm kind of back on your side here. If everybody is fading kickers, then maybe you're onto something here. Like maybe just wait a couple rounds, like do whatever you're gonna do, but a couple rounds later, and I think you're onto something here. Differentiating.
Just for reference, Jason Sanders outscored Miles Sanders.
That motherfucker
Really?
scored a touch.
Wow.
That guy scored a touch, or he threw a touchdown against
Just saying.
Eagles a couple years
Just saying.
ago. Damn it.
The other
I would
Sanders
still rather-
was the better scorer on Philadelphia in SFB 11 scoring.
Damn it.
So was
Where are you
Sanders the
reaching
number
on
one
Miles and
kicker
where
last
you
year?
getting Jason?
No, Youngwei Koo was.
Yeah.
Sanders was
Yeah.
second with 10.6.
And
That-
the problem
it's
is
gonna be
I
an
wouldn't
element to
I wouldn't be
DSP where those
surprised if
kickers who
both of
scored
those
the most
guys
the
were
year
bottom of
before.
the league.
What about tight ends, guys? Like I kind of hinted at it there that maybe they were a little bit overvalued. Obviously, you needed to hit on a tight end, but obviously only half a dozen people in the league could have hit on a tight end. And it probably had a lot to do with who had Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Logan Thomas, or Tanyan, because those two were so free, basically. So Nate, what are you doing with tight ends this year? Are you trying to grab one of those top two because you're picking at the back? You might be able to grab a Waller, but if you miss on a Waller or Kittle, are you going to reach on a Pitts or an Andrews or a Hawkinson, or are you going to kind of play it by ear at that point?
So in a couple of the mocks I've done, I have taken Waller with the second, and I didn't really like the way it played out for the rest of the draft. So everybody knows I love Hawkinson. If I can get him at like the 4 or 5 turn, I might do that. If not, I'm going to wait for somebody like maybe Noah Fant or Dallas Goedert. And if I got to wait past that, I'm going to jump all the way down to Irv Smith and Adam Trautman probably.
Totally.
Very nice.
Who did you like there, Smoke?
Oh, Goddard in the first wave and Troutman in the second wave there.
Me too.
Huge
That's
on
I
those
like
guys
Troutman
this
a
year.
lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the opportunities there. I mean, like look what those other secondary options did last year or didn't do. I mean, with Cook up, man, let him get in there and get good.
You know who I'm going to have on every all one of my Scott Fishbowl teams is going to be Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah,
That's huge.
21st round.
Yeah, my last pick.
I'm going great or late.
Great or late?
Ooh, I like it.
that.
So
I heard
is there anybody you're
I
looking
heard
at?
that
Are
on
you
a
a
different
poet?
pod. No, I heard that on a different
Okay.
pod this week. I was like, yeah.
Okay. Brian,
I heard
we're all
that too. I was
dapping
gonna
up
call you
Brian.
out
He's
on
like,
Shout,
no.
shout out
No.
to that pod.
I think I think it was Jamie Eisenberg that said that too.
Yeah, he was on a different pod. I forget what it was.
I always get
listened
this
to a lot
confused.
this week.
He was on the Vipers.
Jamie Eisenberg and Adam Azer. Which one is the diehard truther?
Well, Adam Azer doesn't leave his house, so it's probably Jamie.
So is there any tight ends that stick out to anybody as somebody who we would elevate in this scoring setting where we're getting an extra point per first down? Like I'm thinking of maybe somebody like Tyler Higbee. For some reason, I'm always thinking of Tyler Higbee.
I love that.
Gerald
I
Everett.
love that. Yeah.
Gerald Everett. Okay.
100%. There's gonna be
Yeah,
some
who is the
explosive
third
plays.
option in that passing game? Yeah, who's that third option in the Seattle
Gerald
passing
motherfucking Everett.
game? Is it?
With
Or
his
maybe Chris
coordinator
Carson's
coming with
abs.
him to that team.
What about
That's a good
the
point.
Tampa Bay tight end? What are you doing there? Are you doing Gronkowski? Are you maybe waiting till your last pick trying to grab OJ Howard?
Cameron Bray.
Cam Braid it is.
3
Later,
feet.
he said later Braid.
Yeah.
I think Gronk's going to be kind of nice for the touchdown upside. I don't think he's going to have like a ton of volume amongst the tight end position, but I think it'll be kind of adequate to keep him afloat. And I think you can get him kind of late enough that he could be decent as maybe I would prefer him definitely as a second tight end on my roster. Just because it's just the consistency with all the pass targets in there with all the wide receivers and Brady Levin throwing to the running back with Gio coming to Tampa Bay now, which should be a factor. I think that volume is going to be hurt for old Gronky.
And he was kind of like the air yards guy in that entire offense, let alone that was really weird.
doubt.
It's hard to
That's so
watch,
funny.
man. Hard to
Yeah.
watch.
Unless he's making that big play in the Super Bowl, he's
Cole
perhaps
Kmet
got it a little bit,
Cole
Well, that's
Kmet
what I was just
has
gonna ask. What do you guys think about?
opportunity in front of his face, man.
So would you go with the upside because of this format? Are you going with the upside in Cole Kmet, or would you go with like a Jared Cook who might see more targets in the end zone and more first down possession?
See, that's interesting because Jared Cook has double digit upside. That's a really
Jimmy
close
Graham.
one.
They're going the same route.
That's the thing. Jimmy Graham's going to eat away some of those red zone targets. We did see Cole Kmet come on at the end of the year because he was awesome in the blocking and everything they wanted him on the field. But trotting out Jimmy Graham into the red zone, he's still there. He's under contract.
He can't trot anymore.
No trade. Well, that's all he can do is trot. He's like, but,
it's true though. Like he had a monopoly on the end zone targets. It was disgusting. Yeah, it was bizarre.
But I do like Jared Cook as a late round guy. He's tied to Herbert, who's his red zone efficiency wasn't great last year, but going into year 2, he's got rid of Anthony Lynn, so they might run some better plays down there. I really like Jared Cook.
Also, Jonnu is going pretty late right now.
What do you guys? Would you guys maybe stack the New England tight ends in this format?
No, because you have to start one, right? So you have to start one. And I would rather
start 5 tight ends if you want. Yeah,
I know, but like if you don't want to do that, and because one of them's probably it's probably going to be I guess they both could be producing, but I don't think week to week they're both going to be steady to that point. So I would have a hard time stacking those two just because I wouldn't know which one to start on any given week, and I'd rather just be forced to start the more athletic, in my opinion, higher upside guy in Jonnu Smith. Then have to make the decision between the two of them where there's other options around that I like a little bit more. I'm not super high on the New England tight ends this year. Just another name tag, dare I say it, Chris Herndon, maybe.
I'll take
Herndon season.
I'll take Herndon over Ferkser.
Over Ferkser, that might be seen as a little bit spicy too, Ty. Even with Julio,
I still love Ferkser. Yeah, they think Julio's opening it up. I think Ferkser might play under 40% of the snaps again. Like he's just a guy who is.
I think he turns into Jonnu where he needs to get those touchdowns to be able to stay afloat because Jonnu just sucked last year aside from those touchdowns. Yeah, me too.
I just think the Julio move hurts him. I think it hurts him big time because he could have been a guy who was a very interesting piece in this offense, off play action, all that. He can work in the intermediate. But my problem is that they don't use a ton of dump offs in this offense regardless. And I think he might, if you want to be the next Jonnu, that's not the best thing to be. That's one of the lowest average depth of target tight ends in the league. And I don't really think he's going to be that. I think he's going to be a very boom or bust tight end, and it's going to have to do with the game script and how much he's on the field. Because I don't know if he's going to be like the blocking tight end in there in 12 personnel.
Yeah, it's a weird one to decipher. So we talked about Herndon as a nameless tight end. What about your boy Ian Thomas as another nameless tight end who inherits the quarterback that turned Dan Arnold into a nameless tight end?
I was going to say Dan Arnold too.
Yeah,
that was funny. What about this one's kind of a little bit not necessarily off the grid, but David Njoku is maybe a little bit intriguing for me because there's some 12 personnel to be had, and it almost seemed like later in the season, David Njoku got himself out of the doghouse, and we know he's got that hyper athletic profile, but I don't know. It's tricky. Would you guys kind of take a shot at him as a third tight end late?
The problem is you really don't even have to spend up for Hooper right now. Hooper's going
I guess so.
pretty low right now, and then you take the overall passing volume into a consideration there in Cleveland. OBJ is trying to get targets. Landry, it's like how much volume can really go around between the two tight ends, quite frankly, which is part of the reason why I think Hooper's kind of dropping in volume. This offense wants to run behind Nick Chubb, and there's only so many targets. I mean, Cleveland's content to throw the ball 22 times a week. That's pretty much what they're looking to do. They don't want Baker Mayfield dropping back in the pocket 30 plus times a week. That's not their recipe to win. It's toting the rock 25 plus times a week.
It's kind of a 3-man show in that tight end room too.
They like Harrison Bryant.
One of the Bryants is there. Yeah.
But I'm with you guys.
The
Like
dream is
30%
dead.
of the volume is going in the passing game. The problem is it's also a very 30% of the targets in Cleveland is not the same as 30% of the targets. In the majority of offenses.
Mm-hmm. On that note, do we think Atlanta, D Brown, maybe let's go to you. Do we think Atlanta runs more 12 personnel, being that they got rid of Julio and they still have Hayden Hurst behind Kyle the Goat Pitts?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Hurst could be somewhat of a value this year. Pitts coming in has really kind of smoldered anything that Hurst had building, and with Julio Jones now out the door, there's going to be plenty of targets to go around, and Hurst is an option that's got chemistry with Matt Ryan, and that's what Matt Ryan's going to be looking for after losing his longtime companion in Julio Jones, new shiny weapon in Kyle Pitts. I'm all about it. I love it, but 12 personnel play action is going to be a big part of this Atlanta offense moving forward with Arthur Smith now in Atlanta. So I think Hayden Hurst does have some sneaky upside here in 2021. So if you paid up for him this past year in Dynasty, I wouldn't be looking to necessarily jump ship at this point. I think Pitts is obviously going to eat and is the future Pitts in Atlanta. But Hurst could have some valuable weeks. He could still easily see 6 to 7 targets a week in this Atlanta offense.
So I have to ask, just because Lee Smith was one of the giant offseason moves for Atlanta there. But I'm dead serious because, Julio's gone, not replaced. So you have these 3 tight ends now that we're talking about: Hurst, Lee Smith, who's brought in to block, and Kyle Pitts. Do you think that bodes well for Kyle Pitts? And do you think maybe that would make somebody like Russell Gage a little bit overvalued if we expect Kyle Pitts in the slot a little bit more than people might be expecting?
No, I love the addition of Lee Smith. He is probably one of the top tight end blocking tight ends in the league, and for a suspect offensive line that we've kind of dealt with in Atlanta, got some pieces kind of coming together. Just like every other team in the NFL, it seems. But
you've invested a lot,
having him as an anchor at the end of that line in these 12 personnels, and once again does something for Hurst and Pitts. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if you see all 3 of these guys on the field pretty regularly for Atlanta, and them having to get creative with the departure of Julio Jones. I think you're going to see some real creativity built off of play action, and so wheels up for Mike Davis here in 2021.
So what do you think? Do you think he's a solid RB2 in this format? Because I think
I do like Mike Davis this year. Obviously Dynasty. If I'm a contender, I'm still not really looking to pay big dollars for him, because as much as we love him and we saw what he did, he's capable of that 3-down back. He's 28 years old, stepping into a new system here in Atlanta that isn't known to have a profitable run game. So, I think we're kind of going to see a mixed bag here as far as the running backs go in Atlanta. And I really don't want to put any significant chips behind any of them. But as far as Matt Ryan in the passing game goes, I think there's value to be had with the 600 targets that are going to be coming out of Atlanta.
And get Quadri Olison late too.
Yeah. Ooh, goal line back there.
Yeah, my poor Ito, Judge Ito, just so one tip for people, it's always hard. Do I make rankings, for the Scott Fishbowl? It's a charity league. What do I do? What I did is just take reputable sites projections and converted them to Scott Fishbowl points. And that's pretty much just going to be my draft board. And Mike Davis is top 20 running back in that.
Ooh-wee. That's music to your ears,
Sanders.
Hey?
Head of both Miles, actually. Miles Gaskin and Miles Sanders.
One with an I, one with a Y.
And Jason Sanders, for that matter.
Ty, we know you're going to draft Miles Gaskin way higher than he should go, though.
I know, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure I'll have both those guys. Mike Davis and Miles Gaskin are definitely on a lot of my teams. I had J.K. Dobbins and Antonio Gibson as my hits in this in the Scott Fishbowl last year. Those were good ones.
Nice
Everyone was
hit.
fading Antonio Gibson because he was profiling as like a receiving back. Like not a lot of us were expecting, like basically the reason I love Antonio Gibson heading into 2021 is the only question marks we had with him heading into last year. He pretty much answered the bell on, whether it's be a goal line back or short yardage situations, maybe a little bit more pass protection we want to see, but pretty sure that 240-pound beast can learn pass protection.
But you just got to get rid of the fuck is his name? JD, the kissing bandit, McKissick.
The biggest Scott Fishbowl devaluation there is, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like
So,
some JD.
Yeah, he's decent in your PPR leagues for sure. Lots of slot work last year, and I think the most receptions or the most targets at the running back position. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, especially not only with the evolution of Antonio Gibson, but with the insertion of Ryan Fitzpatrick as the quarterback and his affinity to throw those YOLO balls, pretty much the anti-Alex Smith. So that'll be an interesting transition for that offense.
Jimbo, what are you doing with running backs? Like, are you going to attack some elite running backs early? What do you want to come away with in, say, like the top 5 rounds when it comes to quarterbacks and running backs?
Well, like I said, in the mocks I've been doing, the elite running back has been falling to me in the 11 spot, and it's really hard to pass up when sometimes the Saquon Barkley falls into your lap or a Dalvin Cook because guys are just hammering quarterbacks. So I want to get 2 solid running backs and a quarterback. 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and a tight end. That's how I want to play out my first 5 rounds.
That's how mine have been going too.
I'll vary on like if I'm going to hit my quarterback 2-3 or 2-4, but it just depends on how it ends up going. But I want first 4 rounds. I want 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 guys I can just plug and play that are solid to, like I said, get the climb to 9. Then when it comes to playoffs, hope my roster construction is a little bit different and pushes me over the edge. With the 22 kickers that scored triple digits.
What about you, Nate? Are you finding the same thing? Oh my god! I don't have the screen up, and whoever just laughed sounded like an actual drop. It sounded like an audio drop. Like
that would be smoke
track.
No, yeah, my builds have been going the exact same way. 2 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and usually a tight end if I'm going to take somebody like Hawkinson. Pretty much spot on.
You are gonna take Hawkinson? No,
I'm thinking about
it. No way, Nate, not you. He's our resident Detroit Lions fan. Lives in near Detroit, probably. Hey, Nate, it might not be directly Detroit, but I don't know. Yeah, there's the Swift uni here. Just the sly little swivel of the chair there. I like that. Ty, I want to come to you on this running back situation, but not early. I want to talk a little bit about later because you were talking earlier about how instead of a kicker, you might be thinking about getting those back end running backs. Why don't you give us a few of those names of guys who you might like in this format, or whether this format even has like an effect on what you're going to be attacking for those guys, or if it would be similar to your season-long leagues?
No, it's 100% kind of flipped on its head where I'm really targeting pass catching, avoiding running backs who have very low pass catching upside in redraft and best ball and stuff like that. But in this format, pass catching I could care less about. In fact, I kind of devalue it when it comes to running backs because those are touches that won't be first down carries, right? But I guess those catches will be first
down receptions. It could be.
Yeah, you're right there. So. But when it comes to names, like maybe like I when I'm getting down that list, it's always hard to think on the spot. Like Chase Edmonds might be somebody that I'm taking below Raheem Mostert, for example. But I wouldn't be in a best ball PPR. Maybe AJ Dillon, James Conner. These are guys who are extremely interesting. Even a Kareem Hunt or something, who are guys who I think can come in for short yardage situations, but also give you crazy upside, like an AJ Dillon if Aaron Jones or Nick Chubb were to go down respectively. In their backfields, Gus Edwards, guys like that just make a lot of sense in this format that you're pushing up the board. Damian Harris, maybe Latavius Murray,
Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard is somebody. Yep, I think I had him on my roster last year. Trey Sermon, though, like I'm definitely going to attack some because you have 22 roster spots, right? And you have these multiple flexes that I'm definitely trying to stack cuff, like, so I want the 49ers running backs. I want Trey Sermon and Mostert. I want Damian Harris and what's his face. So I want multiple players from these backfields, especially because you're going to get discounts on those second guys, right? So I don't mind doing that. And, as far as like handcuffing, like, unless I really like, if I really love my team, maybe I would add a Devontae Booker to my Saquon Barkley team. But if I don't love my team, I'm never trying to handcuff. I'm doing the opposite, grabbing other guys,
trying to recuperate where you
you want that higher upside by taking someone else's handcuff in case their guys go down. You don't want to just do that for you.
And like every other tournament, your last pick should be running backs. Like, whether it's Malcolm Brown, like, I don't care. They're your last pick.
Yeah, that's a good one. Salvon Ahmed. To your point there, Ty, to your point about the running back pass catching, if we look at the first downs themselves, Alvin Kamara led all running backs with 35 first downs, and the leader at wide receiver. The leader at wide receiver was DeAndre Hopkins at 75. So that's 40 more. Ooh. So middle of the road wide receivers are getting more than the top running backs. If we look at the running backs, it was Kamara at the top.
And just really quick, that's another one 10th. Where you have to dig in too. You have to dig in because, Dalvin Cook's average depth of target is in the negative compared to like somebody like Aaron Jones, who has like, point. He actually gets a little bit of air yards behind his name. Yeah,
those slot guys. So if you look at like JD McKissick was in the slot 13% of the time. Chase Edmonds was in the slot 25.5% of his snaps last year, which is sure to come down with him playing kind of 1A, 1B role with James Conner. But I think that's definitely an interesting thing to take note of, because somebody like Mike Davis, like you said, Ty, had the 10th most. Top 10 sounds great, but that's only 17 first downs receiving. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing to weigh, right? Like whether you care about it or not, because it's like it just adds a bunch of noise into what you're trying to think of when you're on the clock. You know what I mean? Oh, there he is. We have a special guest joining the show. We are in fluid mode on the show because we're just in chat mode about whatever the guys are interested right now. We have run through the beautiful show sheet that Ty created for us, and now we're just shooting the shit and hanging out as a crew. And let me tell you guys, there is no better way to spend a Friday night in my book. Without further ado, the counting 8th person in the stream for the rest of our session is the man, the myth, the legend from out in Ontario, one part of the GOAT District podcast. Sorry, buddy. That would be JD. What up, buddy?
What's up, guys? You guys hear me?
You're damn right we can, JD. How you doing tonight, buddy?
What's up, boys?
Oh, man. It is good to see your face, man. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I just left the Batcave for the first time in like 16 months or 15 months or whatever it's been. Took the girls out to a little downtown Toronto patio action.
Nice, man.
Yeah, man. A little celebration tonight. It was good, man. It was fun.
Little normalcy back in the life. That's good, man.
Yeah, man. I had to put on jeans for the first time. It was a nice change.
Did it feel good or was it awful? Or was it both?
No, it was good. You know what? It felt like, when you're in, let's not lie, I'm probably the oldest guy on the stream, but it felt like when I was in my 20s and I was going out to the bars, like that was the excitement, that I hadn't felt in a while.
Nice. Your most expensive cologne, maybe a little bit on the wrist, a little bit on the neck for some of that slow dancing. I love it, JD.
Got the beard comb out,
Yeah. Why don't I was mentioning before, we've been on for about an hour and 25. We've run through a bunch of good stuff. So I want you to take the floor because we've all talked about ourselves. Why don't you take the floor and talk about your Scott Fishbowl situation this year, as well as maybe some of your history in the bowl, because we know that you are a seasoned vet.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how far back. I think it's been 3 or 4 years maybe now. Maybe 4. I don't know. Anyways, this year I'm in Dre, the right. Dr. Dre.
I got Snoop, so we're homies.
Nice.
Glad Scott didn't forget about Dre.
Yeah.
that Eminem gets.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed everybody was getting a spot, so I didn't give any suggestions. So I just looked at a couple that were kind of
really?
low on the attendance, you know. So I put the Black Keys and I put Dre. So I figured whoever he gives me, I'll take.
Nice.
Theo got some Notorious B.I.G. So you guys got some East Coast, West Coast going on there.
Nice. We'll get some gang signs going or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
You got some gangsters in your division. I was looking, man. You have Nelson Souza in your division.
I know, trust me.
Arguably, one of the best players in history. Dwayne McFarlane, who I'm sure you've never heard of, JD.
He was on what, 2 weeks ago? Last week on
Shark Week. Yeah, that was a really, like, you had Abib Egbatoba, Dr. Abib Egbatoba on, and then you had Dwayne McFarlane on from the Fantasy Hustle. That was a Shark Week to be remembered. I think Rich Dotson's also in your division too. So that's you guys got some stars in that one.
Yeah, it's definitely a stacked division. Yeah, man. For those who don't know, Abib, like back to back FFPC, FPC champ, like that's unheard of, man. 2019, 2020. I don't know how you win one of those.
Yeah.
You know, I have my lame ass story about going into the last weekend in 5th place that everybody's heard, but it's like to win that
Only
thing
a couple times this week.
Hey, there you go. See? There you go. Who's that? I can't see the name, man.
That's Bry Guy.
Aviator.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Not bad.
It's nice to see this guy, man. Yeah, man. It's fuck, totally lost my train of thought.
Mingle mode. JD's in mingle mode.
I might be about 4 or 5 IPs in. I don't know.
Atta baby. That's good.
No, you got.
You're talking about your top 5.
Oh yeah. So just talking back to about Abib, and then you're talking about Dwayne. What is he top? Was he top 5? I think like 5 years in a row, or like his consistency is insane in those tournaments. And these are big tournaments. Like you have to win. You have to win your league, your 12-man league, and then you get into for those who don't know, you're into like a 10,000 person pool of teams that a lot of them are, you know, similar. So there's a lot of strategy involved. So to go that far consistently like those guys did is just too impressive, man.
Hey, JD, for somebody who's never been in the Scott Fishbowl, like a couple of our boys here, would you recommend maybe a best ball tournament on the FFPC? Maybe like not necessarily a Football Guys Championship entry, but maybe a lower one. Would that be a good way to try and draft a team that, you know, you want to build in some different team building philosophies and stuff to get ready for the Scott Fishbowl?
Yeah, I think you nailed it, dude. I was just pulling up one of my favorite sites, Fantasy Mojo. You've got all the FFPC ADPs on there. You got draft boards on there. Like you can go through hours of, you know, different drafts from guys who are putting serious money into these drafts, right? So you get a good idea as to where guys can go, where you can get value, where guys are reaching. And then when you draft, like you said, if you're drafting on the FFPC, you see a lot of these guys that are in there. The guys we talk about, they're in these drafts all the time. So you're drafting against some sharp players, and you know, also the Fishbowl it's not easy, man. It's not an easy tournament because everybody is kind of at their best. You know, it's like the middle of summer. You don't have too many unless you're doing a million best balls like we are, but most people have like a couple drafts going. So, you know, everybody's putting their best effort, man. Everybody's getting their tuxedo on, you know, their best look. So yeah, man, I think that the trick to the Fishbowl is you got to kind of figure out your own strategy, man. Like people get together and they have these strategies because they're in the same draft spot or whatever. Mm-hmm. You gotta block that out, man. That's most people who get invited to this, and even the fans do really well. Like people, guys, you're in this for a reason. Follow your instinct, follow your own strategies, you know, get some hints and pick here and there, but try to be a little unique, and that's how you win big tournaments. And going back to what you said, Ty, that's what you learn on the FFPC. You got to be unique to win those big tournaments.
Hey, real quick, hold that thought, Ty. Just want to say a big shout out to our man, Dan Brown NFL on Twitter. He's got a bounce. Appreciate you kicking it with us on this SFB stream. Love you, buddy. And we will definitely be talking soon. So have a good night with the fam.
And
chilling.
real quick, before I get out of here, I encourage everybody to check out the Brighter Skies Podathon that is going down tomorrow. I'll let you guys discuss it a little bit more later on, perhaps. But Jules and Ben have really put together something special over there. We're partaking in a best ball draft. I was lucky enough to be selected as one of the individuals to participate in the best ball draft. And Sons of Dynasty also is hosting an hour segment of the Podathon, and that is from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, prime time on a Saturday night, no less, with special guests Coach Craig Sport coming to join the Sons of Dynasty crew. So make sure you tune in. It's something that's going on all day long, bringing awareness to cyberbullying and mental health awareness as well. So I do encourage you to check that out, no matter what you got going on tomorrow. Starting as early as 10 o'clock in the morning, I think is when it kicks off, and it'll be running all day long. So please do check that out. And if you get an opportunity to donate at any point, please do that as well. Trav, Ty, the rest of the TNF crew, GOAT, I appreciate all you guys. Kicking it with you guys on a Friday night was an absolute pleasure.
No, the pleasure is all ours. And I just want to remind people, I'll throw to Jimbo before we take off here to really go through some of that Brighter Sky stuff, the start times and all that. But also the links for all this stuff is in the description, whether it's the celebrity eliminators, whether it's the t-shirts from Viridian Global. Get your t-shirts. That is all in the description down below, as well as Fantasy Cares. And I find the easiest way to donate to the Scott Fish Bowl is by using the Podathon's PayPal page. So I've also put a link to that in the description below, because it's just insane what the boys like Sal Lito over at the Podathon accomplish every year. So we say goodbye to D Brown. We can't appreciate his work and enthusiasm more. And I'll definitely throw to Jimbo before we get out of here and talk about Brighter Skies.
Pardon? Do you want me to talk about the Brighter Skies?
Sure, yeah. If you want, I can get into it right now. Sorry, Jimbo.
No,
Don't mind me.
I didn't know what he was supposed to talk about either, to be fair.
I love me some Jimmy, man. I gotta say, I love me some Jimmy.
No, man. So me and Connor and Ty are going to be on at 1 o'clock. I'm pretty excited to be a part of this. I didn't actually realize how bad cyberbullying was until about 2-3 months ago, when something closer to me actually ended up happening, and you know what I mean. Then I started paying more attention, and it's popping up. I've seen professional athletes. I actually was tweeting at. I saw Megan Anderson was tweeting all this hate and cyberbullying she has, and I'm like, dude, Megan Anderson can knock half these people out that are chirping her online, and I don't even get it. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling on about it.
That's JD's girl.
I'm pretty excited. pretty excited to be a part of it.
Megan Anderson.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Like I said, I'm pretty excited to be a part of it. Throw some awareness to it. Pretty shitty to behind keyboard warriors that with anonymity think that people can't punch them in the face, and I think people need to get some balls and not say some shit that they would not be able to say in front of people's faces, because I mean sometimes people need to get slapped in the mouth for shit they say. But we're gonna put hopefully an end to cyberbullying, not physical damage to anybody. I'm not gonna hit anybody. That's being played out. I don't know. I'm just rambling on about it. Sorry, you threw me off there. I didn't know I was going to have to talk
honestly, it's an issue. Well, it's funny. It's kind of an issue. So it starts at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern is when it really kicks off.
No, 10 a.m. Eastern.
10 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, yeah. I just
10
wanted to
a.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern.
Cool.
Right? I think they're doing 13 hours.
I think so. I believe so.
Yeah. I think it's 13 hours. I got, like I said, the 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern spot. If anyone wants to check it out, we're going to have a little bit of fun, go through, maybe chirp Connor a little bit on his best ball strategies. Hopefully he takes more than one QB. and just have a real good time, man. And like I said, bring some awareness. Maybe have a fun little raffle go on. We'll see. Have something special planned. Yeah.
Woo!
Did you guys
Well,
talk eliminators already, Ty?
We haven't. Do you want to talk about that? Because like I wanted to talk more, and we just didn't get to it, to be honest. About some of like getting in on the T-shirt, some of the best ways to contribute, making sure you tune in.
Yeah. Go through all that, man. Go through all that.
Yeah, well, it's pretty crazy that Sal and the boys, like the Warriors south of the border, like the Scott Fish Bowl starts on July 5th this year. And those boys start as soon as the Scott Fish Bowl clock starts. And that's going to be, I think, 6 a.m. our time, Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, which is the day after Independence Day. So it's, and like JD is telling us, like, we're all just getting out of this COVID shutdown stuff. Like, we are ready to celebrate July 4th and July 1st for us boys up north of the border. So, just kings, what those guys are going to be doing on the Podathon on July 5th. And that is one of the best ways to contribute and give back. And another way is definitely to buy shirts from Viridian Global, from RotoWear. And I put all the links for this down in the description down below. And then the other way that is probably arguably the best way to give back is what John Bosch and some of the better guys in the industry have banded together to do is these things called the Celebrity Eliminators. And there are these tournaments you can play that a significant portion of the winnings, you still can win money, but a lot of the winnings goes to charity. And it's a really funky format and everything. So JD, you've played a lot of those eliminators on the FFPC. I'm sure at Fantasy Mojo on Twitter has played a lot of them too. So yeah, do you want to just fill people in on what they are and how they can help people, maybe even who are new to the Scott Fish Bowl?
Yeah, anyone who wants to kind of participate, whether you're in the fishbowl or not, like you said, everything goes to charity. They're $10. I just pulled up last year. I usually do about 10 of these a year. Last year I won one of them. The fun thing about these is it's a best ball format. You're drafting against, there's usually one celebrity you can pick. There's like so many. It started with like, you guys remember like a couple dozen. Now there's like, I don't even know how many this year, but, you can build your roster any way you want. Like I had a team called the All Backs because I literally drafted running backs, the entire roster. I had a team a couple of years ago, it was all kickers. Like I've tried every possible technique. And then I have a roster here that I took it down with last year. And, it's got the similar scoring to the fishbowl usually. So tight end preem, the super flex, but
flex spots in addition to that. Yeah.
But it still has kickers. It still has defenses. So like I've got, on this one, I had two defenses, Vikings, Eagles. I had the Detroit kicker, Prater, Fells and Herndon, like nothing special. Brandon Cooks, Russell Gage, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Debo Samuel. My running backs were Chris Johnson, Josh Jacobs, Duke Johnson, Miles Sanders, and then Deshaun Watson. I only had one quarterback. So you'll see. Go ahead. Sorry, man.
Sorry, I thought you were done there, JD. I was just going to ask, what's the scoring for the kickers in the FFPC? Because we were having a little bit of a debate when Jimmy was really interested in some of the kickers getting into the mid to later rounds and where it could be beneficial to maybe grab one. I was just wondering if maybe you have some more insight for us and where you may have drafted them.
So you're talking about kickers on the FFPC?
How's that scoring compared to like the Scott Fish Bowl this year?
So I haven't compared the scoring with the two. I'm just pulling up right now on the FFPC. I can tell you.
Yeah, because I think the only difference would be there's no negative and it's not fractional, but you clearly won a league with a kicker on your team, so it's
for the fishbowl. You mean right?
Yeah. We were just having a debate earlier because
are you interested in kickers, JD, for the fishbowl? Like, what are you going to be targeting any kickers?
Well, I think what the kickers do and what the defenses do is they give you like a floor, especially the kickers. They'll give you a pretty good floor. Like I look at Prater here. I mean, he gave me, and again, you got to look at where I drafted him in the draft. I'd have to look it up, but it's not like I picked him early, right? So he gave me double-digit points, 16 points, 16 points, 14 points, 12 points, 11 points. So he gave me some pretty good weeks for a guy that I drafted super late. And again, it's all about, I always say, man, whether it's best ball, and like you said, Ty, I think best ball is the best practice. So, I get the mock drafts. I'm not a mock draft guy. I rather put in like $5-10 and put it on the line, and and then kind of I play around with roster construction that way. But teach their own, man. It's all about kind of building your own roster and figuring out through the draft how you want to build it. But you're only gonna, it's like everything else, man. It's like I'm telling my 5-year-old daughter right now, right? You're only gonna get better at stuff if you do it, and that people talk about like best ball and I don't know, I don't really want to do it. It's like, well, do you like fantasy football? Do you want to be good at fantasy football? You have to be doing best balls. It's like telling me you want to be in shape but not working out or not worrying about your food. It just doesn't make sense.
You've been talking to my wife?
Hey, I want to know where Brian is, man. What's with the like Hawaii? Is that Hawaii behind you or is that BC? What's behind you?
Nah, man, it's BC, man. Beautiful.
That's BC. Gorgeous, dude. That's gorgeous, dude. Cheers. Oh, beer all over the keyboard. Beer on the keyboard.
Oh,
beer on the keyboard.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Vince Carter at the dunk competition. It's over. It's over.
I think we could wrap it up if you want, Trav, because I know you're having a little bit of a, he was talking about talking to a 5-year-old. I know you have a little issue on your hands as well.
Yeah. My daughter
defund mock drafts and defund bangs.
Yeah, my daughter decided to cut a bunch of her hair up at the front of her forehead here. And this is my beautiful golden blonde locks daughter. So I may or may not cry a little tonight, but that's
okay. How old is this one? How old is
6.
That one?
She is 6.
Oh, man.
Yeah. She cut some doll's hair, got in trouble for it, and then decided to just go for the real thing. So
does my
grows back, man.
Yeah, hey, Trav, does mommy know about that yet? Or
mommy was the one who was peeking in the door, not knowing what to do. So, but happy Friday night, everybody. It's been great to have the crew on. Loved you all. I know some of you guys didn't get to kind of chat as much as maybe you hoped to, but we love you for coming on. We're so glad to get the band together. It's rare that we get to do this, guys. So to me, it's super special when we can do it and chop it up. And I think it's good for our team chemistry as well as for our listeners to be able to, get to know all of us and hear what we're spitting out there. And I think we put out some really good information tonight. So I'm going to go around the horn a little bit. Just give a quick sentence or two about where you're at and what you're doing. Jimmy, what's going on in the Gold Jacket Pod and where can the people find you, buddy?
You can find me at Gold Jacket QBs. Every Tuesday night's Gold Jacket Pod moved it to 7 p.m. Eastern, a little bit early of our start, so it's not so bad on Connor and myself. Check it out. We're running raffles, we're running prizes. We actually have a Canadian National Best Ball Champions League giveaway to any Canadian that wants to give us just a 2 to 3 minute post-game hockey style interview. The Habs are in the Stanley Cup, the Coupe de Stanley. So
Tampa Bay officially during this podcast.
Yeah. Right. So we're just trying to spread the love there to any Canadian that isn't already in Canada's biggest National Best Ball League.
Good call.
So yeah.
And make sure you're checking out the Brighter Skies starting at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. So keep her locked on the TNFF network for a whole gang of fantasy football content. Coach Craig, my man, the silent assassin down there. How are you doing tonight? What are you working on this summer, and where can the people find you, brother?
Doing pretty good. So I'm on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, on YouTube at Coach Craig Sports as well. I'm kind of tuning it back a little bit, probably do 2-3 videos a week right now. Probably some more deeper dive into dynasties where I bring somebody on, interview them, talk about kind of their dynasty approach if they have a startup they want to talk about, and then just some advice for new people. Right now I'm in the middle of doing some projections. I'm going to be doing some 2022 NFL draft class scouting. Just trying to get some of the bigger names out there, grade it out before this season, and then kind of come back after the year's done and grade them out as well. So that's the main things I'm working on right now. besides working at night, obviously. So
Yeah, absolutely, my man. That's it's killer work you're putting out there, and we love having you on the True North team. Nate Dogg with the red background, rocking the Suns Dynasty, chilling in that wicked setup. Where can they find you, and what you working on, my brother? Because I know it's a lot.
It is a lot. You can find me on Twitter at Nate_FFL. I have new stuff come out a couple times a week. I have a DLF article coming out in a couple days. And then the podathon tomorrow, I'll be on there with D Brown, Coach, and the rest of the guys from Sons of Dynasty. So be sure to check that out.
Hell yeah.
Thanks
man.
for having me
Hell
on
yeah.
too, man.
Oh, 100%, buddy. Anytime. We got to do these more often. So let's make sure we're in the group chat trying to line up some times that work for each other. And keep in mind, boys, Ty and I don't have to be here for that. So if you guys want to kick our asses to the curb and get something going yourselves, sign me up to watch that for sure. Aviator up in the clouds, flying planes, chilling with that tropical, majestic setting behind you. What's going on for you, my man? Where can they find you?
Other than in the sky, flying very much lately.
Yeah.
You know, I've been clipped.
Your wings.
Yeah, my wings have been clipped. But no, you can check out all my stuff on True North FFB. You know, we got the Dynasty Radar, Dynasty article I put out once a month, random articles here and there, and smart ass comments on the Bird app. And yeah, I just float around.
Yeah,
in the
man.
clouds.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. You know what's funny is I don't even realize when we lost smoke. But now that I think about it, like we lost.
That was like an hour ago.
It was about 45
Put it
minutes.
in the comments.
Tripping. That's probably when I got the news about the hair. So shout out to our man Smoke for coming on. And then last but not least, the most recent guest and a guest of honor at that, Mr. JD from the Goat District Pod. What do you got going on for the summer, brother? And give your man from the pod a shout too. We love him as well.
Yeah, man. We're kind of a trio now with Dan, the overhyped
That's right.
sleeper, Noe on the end, and now we have an amazing addition, Theo, the OG fantasy. He drops.
Division.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In the BIG division.
That's right.
That's right.
He is in the. That's right. He is in the BI. Actually, yeah, I didn't even think of that. He is in the BIG.
Just a really solid high stakes player, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's solid in every way, man. He does work for the Breakout Finder. He does rankings. He's going to be doing his own type of show this year, looking at rankings throughout the season, waiver wires, that kind of thing. But if you're into fantasy, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, I mean, we kind of cover all of it. We've got some great new additions. You know, Theo joins up with Andrew Schellenberg, who's another high stakes beast, and they get together and like they just did. I think it was last night. They drafted an FPC draft for $500,000 on the FFPC. So, you know, just we've got John Daigle lined up from RotoViz. We've got Todd Burrow coming on. So we've got honestly like our lineup this summer is insane. Theo is just hammering the guests right now. You know, he's like a kid in a candy store just lining these guys up. So we're enjoying it. We're trying to bring the goodness and complement, you know, the goodness that you guys are bringing. I appreciate you guys having me on. And guys, no excuse tomorrow night. Get on the pod because there's no Habs game, right? There's no hockey,
That's
so
right.
I don't want to hear no bullshit excuse.
That's right.
And thanks, because I needed a new keyboard anyways, so now I got to order one. Cheers.
You are welcome. And yeah, no joke there that the Goat District Pod has one of the sickest guest lineups that you can find in the podcast stratosphere. So, Ty, you got any parting shots for the people, my man?
No, I second the Goat District love for sure. There is a lot of really fresh, awesome content, and it's really being pumped out quite a bit. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Just Google Goat District YouTube, and you'll find that page pretty easily. It's totally worth it. And Shark Week has been spectacular. Something I've always looked forward to. And I just, you know, your whole crew, your clique, JD, is just kind of synonymous with the Scott Fishbowl, whether it's the DWZ crew, just a lot of the guys that you are affiliated with. You guys are the good guys in the industry. So it's just fun to be affiliated with you guys now. So
Thanks,
we're
man.
all in this together with Scott Fishbowl. So
For
just
sure.
everybody go check out the Eliminators, check out the gear at Viridian Mobile. Everything is in the links in the description below. I recommend everybody go to fantasycares.net and find out what this is all about. Watch the Toys for Tots videos, whether it's John Bosch shopping or Scott Fish himself. It really gives you great perspective, and it really, I think the perspective is it's hard to quantify the magnitude of kind of the shift in perspective that the fantasy community's undergone thanks to the Scott Fishbowl. Just think about how many fantasy leagues are created on Twitter that don't give a portion or all of the proceeds to charity. Like that is entirely 100%.
Well, look at
this tournament.
Look at the potathon, Ty. How much do they raise?
Yeah.
They're going to be hitting 6 digits soon.
Thousands.
Like I'm pretty sure it's going to be hitting 6 digits soon. That's impressive, man.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, I think that's the easiest way to donate. So the link is in that page as well for their PayPal page for the Podathon. But it's also just a gas to listen to the Podathon. It's kind of like the HHSF podcast where they're having these high stakes guys on while they're drafting high stakes leagues. It's a really fun event as well. And so a lot of that is going to be duplicated in the Brighter Skies pod tomorrow as well. So I'm really excited for that Podathon. Really excited to be a part of that for an hour as well. But yeah, I can't thank everybody enough for coming on, and I really appreciate the patience that everyone has to, it's a virtue, and you guys all got it, and you guys got about every other virtue I could think of as well.
Very, very well put, my man. Just so to ride out here, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, of course. Trophy Smack. Use the promo code TNFF, and you can get yourself a free championship ring with the purchase of a trophy. We also love our partnership with Monkey Knife Fight. That promo code's TNFF as well, and you can get an instant match of up to 50 bones on your first deposit. And then, of course, we are part of the Fantasy Points Media Group, which we are blessed to be a part of. Hashtag blessed to be a part of.
Some of the biggest names in the
Hashtag
Scott Fish Bowl.
LML. Yeah,
some of the biggest, fantasy names in the Scott Fish Bowl are fantasypoints.com members.
Absolutely. And just incredible content over there. Elite analysis, advanced metrics, killer DFS stuff, like whatever you need is over at fantasypoints.com. Use the promo code 21TrueNorth10 and you can get 10% off that bad boy. So we're going to finish off on that. Appreciate anyone tuning in. Appreciate the boys showing up and hanging out, and look for us next week, because next week's show is the Canada Day Bash. We have some guests lined up for it. We're super excited, Ty and I. And on next Thursday, it's going to be a marathon pod. So usually we get our chops busted for actually doing marathon pods on our regular spot, but this one's actually going to be a marathon pod.
Isn't a marathon pod?
And anyone hit us up if you want us to talk about anything in particular as Canadians. Let us know if you guys have questions about anything. Yeah, hit us up.
Any Canadians watching in the chat, even you guys, if there's anything that's got a little bit of Canadiana around it or anything that
I got one person you guys have to reach out to and get on the show. Julie Bissonnette. You might already have her line. Julie, you have to line her up.
I follow her, and I will reach out to absolutely.
She's awesome. She does a ton. Just the reason I say is she does a ton of the Eliminators. I met her through the Eliminators, and she's like a big Bills fan.
I think I met
Canadian.
her through you.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. She reached out to me the other day to see if I'm organizing a fishbowl live draft in Toronto. I'm like, I asked for one, but I'm not organizing one yet. But
let's go.
So she's someone good. If you guys can get her on even for a few minutes, like representing the females, the Canadians out there.
I'm gonna do that. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. I love it. JDC. JD's got the guests, and he's uniting the fantasy community, folks. That's what we are about here on the True North Pod, in the spirit of the Scott Fish Bowl. And with that, we will see you next week for the Canada Day Bash. For Tyrell McLaughlin, for me, for the rest of the crew at True North Fantasy Football, thanks for coming. Talk to you next week. Peace.
Trophy smacks in my division.